Trump, China, and the rare earth shock last Friday, October 10th. Global markets were shaken by a new earthquake. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq suffered their worst day since April. The dollar dropped. Oil hit its lowest price in 5 months. And the crypto market collapsed. Over $19 billion were liquidated in a matter of hours. Bitcoin plunged 12%, and some altcoins lost up to 80%. Altogether, more than $550 billion in market value vanished. The cause? A single message from Donald Trump. On Truth Social, Trump announced a new offensive against China. Strange things are happening in China. They're becoming very hostile. We're considering a massive increase in tariffs on Chinese products. Hours later, the White House confirmed it. Starting November 1st, 2025, or earlier, depending on China's actions, the United States will impose a 100% tariff on all Chinese imports plus new export controls on critical software. The reaction was immediate. Markets panicked, investors fled to safe havens, and analysts started warning about a new trade war. What made this so surprising was that both powers had recently been moving in the opposite direction. Washington had asked Taiwan's prime minister not to visit the US, cancelled a $400 million weapons deal, and even relaxed restrictions on chip sales to China. Beijing, meanwhile, tightened controls on fentanyl precursors, one of Washington's main demands, approved a U.S. consortium's takeover of TikTok's American operations. In short, everything seemed to be calming down until Trump dropped the bomb. But 48 hours later, he backtracked. Don't worry about China. Everything will be fine. The United States wants to help China, not hurt it. Markets instantly rebounded. Dow futures jumped almost 400 points. So what really happened? Why such a sudden escalation and then a retreat? This isn't just about tariffs. It's about power, a geopolitical struggle between the world's two largest economies. And it all started, once again, with one of the most strategic resources on Earth: rare earth elements. Rare earths are a group of 17 minerals, essential for producing everything from smartphones and electric vehicles to missile guidance systems and advanced semiconductors. They re not actually rare, but they re difficult to extract and even harder to refine without major environmental damage. That's why most countries avoid producing them, except one, China. Over the past 3 decades, China has become the undisputed leader in this field. Today, it controls over 70% of global reserves and about 90% of the world's refining capacity. For some heavy rare earths, its share is nearly 100%. And it doesn't stop there. China also dominates the refining of other key materials like gallium, graphite, molybdenum, and lithium. It even trains the world's top specialists. 39 Chinese universities offer graduate programs in rare earths in the US. This dominance gives Beijing enormous geopolitical leverage. As Deng Xiaoping once said, the Middle East has oil, China has rare earths. And he was right. Modern technology cars, drones, fighter jets, even wind turbines depends on these materials. Recently, US automakers in Detroit had to slow production because they couldn't secure enough rare earths. America's dependence is so deep that it sends 95% of its own rare earth output back to China for refining. Then, one day before Trump's announcement, Beijing made its own move, starting December 1st. All foreign companies will need a special license to export any product containing more than 0.1% of Chinese rare earth ore made with Chinese rare earth technology. China also restricted sales of the machines used to process them. It was a direct response to US controls on high-end chip exports and semiconductor equipment. In short, China was saying two can play that game. The US defense industry relies on rare earth magnets for missiles, aircraft, and radar systems. If China blocks access, America's military supply chain could be in serious trouble. Analysts warned that if enforced strictly, even US-made AI chips could end up requiring Beijing's approval. Washington knows it must diversify fast, but building new mines and refineries takes years. That fear of China suddenly turning off the tap is what triggered Trump's furious reaction. But China isn't seeking an all-out trade war, and neither is the US. Both sides are preparing for a major summit in South Korea later this month between Trump and Xi Jinping. By tightening export rules, Beijing is strengthening its hand at the negotiating table. Trump's tariffs are his countermove. It's a heist-case chess match. China's controls start December 1st. Trump's tariffs begin November 1st, and they're meeting right in between. Still, China's restrictions are hard to enforce. Officially, Beijing exported zero germanium to the US last year, but mysteriously, exports to Belgium jumped by exactly the same amount that disappeared. So yes, the minerals kept flowing through back channels. China also knows that cutting supplies would backfire. Its dominance depends on low costs. If it limits exports, prices would skyrocket, and Western countries would accelerate their own mining projects, eroding China's advantage. Plus, rare earths aren't that large economically. The US imported only $170 million worth in 2024, a rounding error, compared to other trade flows. So Beijing's move is more political leverage than economic threat, a warning shot before negotiations. But the US-China rivalry goes far beyond trade. It's a global contest for influence that now touches Ukraine as well. On October 5th, Russia launched one of its largest air assaults of the war. That same night, Chinese reconnaissance satellites reportedly passed over the target zone 9 times. Ukrainian intelligence believes this was no coincidence, that China is quietly providing data to assist Russian strikes. If true, it confirms what many analysts already suspect. This is a broader geopolitical alignment where trade, technology, and security are all interconnected. So where does that leave us? Both Washington and Beijing are testing each other's limits. Neither wants open confrontation yet, but the tension isn't going away. Even if a new deal is announced, it will likely be temporary. China now accounts for nearly 30% of global manufacturing, and if trends continue, it could exceed 40% by 2030. That's an unprecedented level of industrial power and geopolitical influence. This rivalry will define the next decade, shaping trade, technology, and the balance of power worldwide. So, what do you think? Will Trump and Xi find common ground? Are we just seeing the calm before the next storm?